Hello dear students, once again hearty welcome to the world of English literature. This class is especially for the students of class 12 who are preparing for your board examinations in the coming year. So here I would like to teach you another poem, that is Dover Beach. This poem is written by Matthew Arnold. He was born in the year 1822 and of course he was called to eternal rest in the year 1888. Look at this beautiful portrait of this great poet Matthew Arnold. And in the previous class I told you about the poem Desiderata. That was almost a repetition, but it was just given for a revision to remind you about our previous class, but here onwards we will be moving ahead. Please pay focus to your studies and make use of the time that is in your hand. So let us continue with this poem. Let us get a brief introduction about this great man, Matthew Arnold. Matthew Arnold was an English poet and cultural critic and worked as an inspector of schools. He was born in 1822, centuries before. He received his early education where his father, Dr. Thomas Arnold, was the headmaster. His first poem, Alaric at Rome, was published in the year 1840. He was graduated from Oxford University in the year 1844. His first collection of poems, The Strayed Reveler and Other Poems, in 1849. That was the collection of books, poetry books. Dover Beach is a brief dramatic monologue regarded as his best. You know what is a dramatic monologue or a monologue? Mono is single. So a single person expressing his feelings and emotions through dialogue. That is called a dramatic monologue. It was written in 1851, inspired by his visit with his wife to south coast of England, where the white cliffs of Dover stand. So he got the inspiration when he went to visit or see this beach with his wife. The poem begins with romanticization of natural landscape, but later moves to lament the loss of religious and spiritual faith. That is what we find today also. Earlier centuries, or before, during the time of our grandparents and great-grandparents, people were absolutely putting their faith in their religion, and every realm of their life was just moved with the spiritual aspect. But now a decline we find, gradually losing of the faith. That is what we find here. Perhaps Matthew Arnold is also highlighting this aspect of faith in our life. Then I especially focus on this last line, loss of faith substituted with love and faith the lovers have for each other. That is what our Matthew Arnold is focusing here. Moving ahead of our slides, what the points are highlighting, what are the central ideas of this poem? Please pay attention here. He describes description of a naturalistic scene, the calm sea, the full tide, the shining moon above the straits and the glimmering cliffs of England. The speaker calls someone, presumably the beloved, to experience the sweet scent of the air. He invites his beloved. Then the speaker draws attention to the roar-like sound of the pebbles drawn back and flung by the waves. You know, in a beach, if you stand, you understand this particular situation. The endless motion of the waves is used as a symbol for eternal note of sadness in human life. Countless number of tides, waves coming and going, you know. That reminds about the sadness of human life. Sophocles, the great tragedy writer, was reminded of human suffering through the ebb and flow of waves in the Aegean Sea. The speaker is no different. The sound of the waves in the northern sea make him thoughtful. Faith in religion and spirituality is compared to a sea, which once had a full tide but now it is retreating, means going back, moving back. Then again the speaker urges his beloved that they should be true to each other in world devoid of joy, love, light, certitude, peace and help for pain. All these things were there, joy, love, light, certitude, all these things were so much given so much importance earlier times, but those things are vanishing or disappearing slowly and slowly from the mind of the people. So the poem ends on a pessimistic note, negative note that the world seems dark and confusing. That was the experience of Matthew Arnold when he went to look at this Dover beach. Here I would like to read the total poem for you. Please pay attention. As you have your textbook with you, please, as I read, please look at the book and read this one. Let us begin. The poem, The Dover Beach. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast, the light glums and is gone. The cliffs of England's strand, glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air, only from the long life of spray, where the sea meets the moon-balanced land. Listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling. At their return up the high strand, begin and cease and then again begin with tremulous, sudden, slow and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound of thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the falls of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind down the vast edges, dearest and naked singles of the world. Oh, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, has really neither joy nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. What a wonderful poem, dear students. What an inspirational, painful poem it is. Moving ahead of the things, I would like to explain you with the summary of this poem stanza after stanza. Please pay attention to the first stanza here. One night, the speaker of Dover Beach sits with a woman inside a house looking out over the English Channel near the town of Dover. They see the lights on the coast of France just 20 miles away, and the sea is quiet and very peaceful and calm in this situation. When the light over the France suddenly extinguishes, the speaker focuses on the English side, which remains tranquil. Tranquil means very peaceful. He trades visual imagery for oral imagery, describing the grating roar, the mighty sound of the waves, of the pebbles being pulled out by the waves. he finishes the first stanza by calling the music of the world an eternal note of sadness, unending note of sadness. The next stanza, the second stanza, flashes back to ancient Greece, where Sophocles heard this same sound on the Aegean Sea and was inspired by it to write his plays about human misery. This Sophocles, the philosopher, he was especially focusing on the sadness or the sad aspect or melancholic aspect of the human life, and he compared the sound of the Aegean Sea with the human misery. Focusing ahead, stanza number 3 introduces the poem's main metaphor, with the sea of faith was once too at the full and the round earth's shore. The phrase suggests that faith is fading from society like the tide is from the shore. The speaker laments this decline of faith through melancholic diction. This is perhaps very much true these days. Earlier, our parents and great grandparents, they all were focusing, paying too much attention to religion, God, church, temple, mosque, and all the things related to it. But now you see, decline of faith. Earlier, everything was centered around religion, and without that religion, they could not think anything else. But now, seldom people go to church, seldom people go to temple, mosque. That's a decline of faith. This is what our Matthew Arnold is highlighting through the stanza number 3. Decline of the faith from the society like the tide is from the shore. As the tide waves come to the shore and retreats, goes back, the same way the faith of our life is also slowly declining. The final stanza, the speaker directly addresses his beloved who sits next to him, asking that they always be true to one another and to the world that is laid out before them. They should be faithful to each other. Matthew Arnold, he tells his beloved that they should be truthful to each other, faithful to each other. Because the success of any life depends on the truthfulness and honesty of your life. He warns, however, that the world is beauty is only an illusion. The beauty of the world, it is just an illusion, since it is in fact a battlefield full of people fighting in absolute darkness. All are fighting, quarreling, struggling, and the world seems to be a place of illusion. So, moving ahead of our story, I would like to focus your attention on the main theme of this particular poem, Dover Beach. First, and the most important thing is the theme of this poem is loss of faith in God and religion. Everything is, especially in today's context of Corona. We have so many gods and goddesses, saints, everybody is there. But at this crucial juncture, it's a question where these gods are hiding. Why this God is not tackling the problem of coronavirus? And the entire world is suffering. So in this context, everybody will raise this particular question and they will lose faith in God and religion. That's a naked fact that we need to understand. And this is what Matthew Arnold was also highlighting in this particular poem. And the second thing is that love as the last solace, whatever may it seem, love which comes from our heart, that is the only thing that lasts in our life. So love one another sincerely, be faithful, be truthful to each other. These are the two central themes of this particular poem, dear students. Please pay attention. Moving ahead, form and structure of this beautiful poem. So the poem is spoken by someone on Dover Beach. Poem has 37 lines and split into 4 unequal lines. It looks like a sonnet without complicated meter and rhyming scheme. No particular rhyming scheme or meter that we will find in this particular poem. It is just like a sonnet. What is a sonnet? Sonnet means a 14 line poem consisting of 2 parts, 8 and 6. It is divided like that, sonnet. Shakespearean sonnets, you may be familiar with that one. So continuing about our explanation, dramatic monologue. Typically a dramatic monologue, a person at the Dover Beach speaks. We don't know whether it is really Matthew Arnold or somebody else. Here a single person, not poet, utters speech in a particular situation. Action is internal. The poet speaks through the medium of imagined character, a lover, and achieves his objectivity. He is conversing with his lover. Dramatic monologue here. This is the explanation about the dramatic monologue. Then some of the poetic devices that are used here, that is enjambment, that is continuation of sentence without a pause to the next line, that is called the enjambment. It's one of the figures of speeches that is used here. The second one is repetition, alliteration. You know, you are familiar with the figures of speech alliteration. Alliteration means close repetition of the consonant sounds that you find here. Then pathetic fallacy, that is attributing human emotion and conduct to objects in nature. Pathetic fallacy. Then simile, metaphor, then imagery and allusion, reference to another culture. These are the figures of speech that you will find here. Then critical remarks about this particular poem. Darwin's theory of evolution and the Victorian crisis of faith. Theory of evolution, how human beings we originated, and Victorian crisis of faith means people were questioning the absolute authority of the religion, and they were just questioning everything that is related to religion. Victorian era, that was from 1837 to 1901, crisis of faith caused by scientific discoveries. Yes, there was a decline of religious belief, faith, trust in religion because of the scientific advances and discoveries. Sea of faith now withdrawing and roaring. Sea of faith, that is almost declining. Then appearance versus reality. The world looks beautiful but not so beautiful, and it's like a battlefield. The world really looks so beautiful, so interesting, so fascinating, but at the same time it is filled with all types of confusions, cruelties, problems and difficulties in the life. Thus the poet feels that it is like a battlefield. Then of course loss of faith in God and religion under the influence of scientific ideas. That idea already I have highlighted here. So loss of faith in God and religion under the influence of scientific ideas. Hope you have understood this particular poem, and for your studies, please make your further studies by making the notes. And of course you have the summary book is there, the notebook is there, poem is there, all things are there for you. Still, if you have again your doubt and clarifications, please make a call to me and I will rectify the matter. And once again, we all advise you to stay at home, stay safe, and I would like to add one more point to that. Stay at home and learn at home. Bye bye. This is Joseph from Lifro School, Salembur. Thank you so much.